1943, and the U.S. Army transport Dorchester was one of 3 ships in a convoy moving across the Atlantic from Newfoundland to an American base in Greenland. A converted luxury liner, the Dorchester was crowded to capacity, carrying 902 servicemen, merchant seamen, and civilian workers. It was only 150 miles from its destination when shortly after midnight, an officer aboard the German submarine U-2 spotted it. After identifying and targeting the ship, he gave orders to fire. The hit was decisive, striking the ship far below the waterline. The initial blast killed scores of men and seriously wounded many more. Others, stunned by the explosion, were groping in the darkness. Panic and chaos quickly set in. Men were screaming, others crying, or frantically trying to get lifeboats off the ship. Through the pandemonium, 4 men spread out among the soldiers, calming the frightened, tending the wounded, and guiding the disoriented towards safety. They were 4 Army chaplains: Lieutenant George Fox, a Methodist; Lieutenant Alexander Good, a Jewish rabbi; Lieutenant John Washington, a Roman Catholic priest; and Lieutenant Clark Poling, a Dutch Reformed minister. Quickly and quietly, the 4 chaplains worked to bring calm to the men. As soldiers began to find their way to the deck of the ship, many were still in their underwear, where they were confronted by the cold winds blowing down from the Arctic. Petty Officer John J. Maloney, reeling from the cold, headed back towards his cabin. "Where are you going?" a voice of calm in the sea of distress asked. "To get my gloves," Maloney replied. "Here, take these," said Rabbi Good, as he handed a pair of gloves to the young officer. "I can't take those gloves," Mahoney replied. "Never mind," the rabbi responded. "I have 2 pairs. It was only long after that Mahoney realized that the chaplain never intended to leave the ship. Once topside, the chaplains opened the storage locker and began distributing life jackets. It was then that engineer Grady Clark witnessed an astonishing sight. When there were no more life jackets in the storage room, the chaplains simultaneously removed theirs and gave them to 4 frightened young men. When giving their life jackets, Rabbi Good did not call out for a Jew, Father Washington did not call out for a Catholic, nor did Fox or Poling call out for a Protestant. They simply gave their life jackets to the next man in line. One survivor would later call it was the finest thing I've seen or hope to see this side of heaven. As the ship went down, survivors in nearby rafts could see the 4 chaplains, arms linked and braced against the slanting deck. Their voices could also be heard offering prayers and singing hymns. Of the 902 men aboard the USAT Dorchester, only 230 survived. Before boarding the Dorchester back in January, Chaplain Poling had asked his father to pray for him. "Not for my safe return, that wouldn't be fair. Just pray that I shall do my duty, never be a coward, and have the strength, courage, and understanding of men. Just pray that I shall be adequate." Although the Distinguished Service Cross and Purple Heart were later awarded posthumously, Congress wished to confer the Medal of Honor, but was blocked by the stringent requirements which required heroism performed under fire. So a posthumous Special Medal for Heroism, the 4 Chaplains Medal, was authorized by Congress and awarded by the President on January 18, 1961. It was never given before and will never be given again.
I never heard that story, John, but I'm sure there are a lot of stories I haven't heard about people sacrificing their lives to save it. And I'm sure those of you who served in the war probably know some too. A couple of announcements, and then we'll get to our speaker. I'm a history buff, and I guess a lot of you are too. And I feel very fortunate to live in an area where there are so many organizations devoted to the study and understanding of armed conflicts in American history. One of those is the Vietnam War Roundtable, the Central Pennsylvania Roundtable, Vietnam War Roundtable, and their president, Rich Burton, is not here tonight. He's, as he says, spending his kids' inheritance in Florida. They meet the 2nd Thursday of every month, so it's the week after this meeting, and they have it on Derry Street. They're not meeting next week because their president's in Florida, But they have a website if you're interested in learning about upcoming events, and Rich will probably be here next month, and he'll announce some of the upcoming speakers for the Vietnam. We also have 3 Civil War roundtables, Harrisburg, Hershey, and the Camp Curtin Historical Society. And we do have a representative of the Hershey Civil War Roundtable, Rick Hollis, who will give a brief announcement, some upcoming events. And I think you got to use this mic because he didn't translate.
Hey, good evening. Like I say, the third Thursday of each month we meet at Country Meadows, and this month the speaker is Bob Etchberger on railroads pre and post Civil War. Also, we have flyers for the whole entire year, so if anybody's interested, please let me know. I'll gladly give to anybody who wants them. Also, April the 21st, we have a field trip, Lee's Retreat from Gettysburg, with J.D. Petrois. If anybody's seen him, he's like one of the top people that talks about cavalry during the Civil War, especially during Gettysburg. The trip is $95. That covers everything for the whole entire day. And also seeing if we have flyers. And one other thing, Camp Curtin, February 25th at the Camp Curtin Methodist Church. I have flyers for this one too. They're having a talk on the 1863 New York draft riots. So the hippies weren't the only ones that had riots during the draft. They started early. So I do have these brochures, but he needs them.
So you have something on the first Thursday of the month, which is us, and then the second weekend you have Vietnam War, and then you have Civil War on the third weekend, and the fourth weekend you can probably watch something on the History Channel. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Steve Smith. I represent the Harrisburg Civil War Roundtable. We meet Friday the 23rd at the Camp Hill Radisson Hotel. The speaker for February is Robert Trout. He'll be covering cavalry operations after Gettysburg, July 14th to December 31st, 1863. And start time for the official portion of the evening is 7:45 if you're coming to hear the speaker. Also, I wanted to, the last time we met, I briefed the winter lecture series at the Gettysburg National Military Park. That series is ongoing, although when they shut down the government, that stops everything at Gettysburg. So if that should happen again, as it may well do, don't go to Gettysburg. Also, I told you that you could watch this in the privacy of your home on Facebook. Unfortunately, the technology is not working out. They've stopped broadcasting on Facebook, but they are recording all of their lectures, and they're very high-quality lectures every Saturday and Sunday at 1:30. If you can go in person, great. If you can't, they'll be on YouTube on their website. You can view them later on this year. My final announcement is the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center, AHEC, in Carlisle, is sponsoring their annual reenactor recruitment event on Saturday, the 10th of February, beginning at 10 a.m. And they've been gathering together used books on military history. They've got tons of them. They've never been seen before, and they're going to put them out at 10 a.m. that morning. So if you're like me and you love history. Oh, of course, yes. Exactly. But I went to that event last year. You can see reenactors from Roman times to the present. A lot of World War II reenactors as well, both German and American. I think you'd have a lot of fun if you went. Something to see. Thank you.
A plethora of activities for you to engage in. Speaking of activities, this weekend is the weekend for the Battle of the Bulge reenactment before the Indiantown Gap. That continues tomorrow and Saturday. And you can check their website for the events that are open to the public. And I was told that World War II veterans are especially welcome. They'll take good care of you. I guess they have a special area for them. So if you're interested, again, that's the annual event at Indiantown Gap. We're almost done with the announcements. Speaking of World War II, our roundtable is sponsoring a bus trip, which I think is a first, at least as long as I've been a member. It's to a place that you normally associate with another war. This trip is going to Gettysburg. And we all know about the battle that took place during the War of Northern Aggression, or the Second War of Independence, as they call it in the South. But there are a lot of World War II tie-ins as well. You all know about Eisenhower buying the farm there, retiring there. He also trained at Camp Colt in tank tank strategy with his buddy George S. Patton, and the tour will include visiting the site of Camp Colt, and we have a licensed guide who will take us around. The $35 total includes round-trip bus fare from here. It'll be from Grace United Methodist Church, and the tour, and there'll be lunch there, but that's not provided, but there'll be a lunch break. And the information will be in the back. Chris Huffman, a member of our board, has spent a lot of time organizing this, and he has a sign-up sheet. And we asked if you're at all interested, the sooner you can sign up, the better, because they need a minimum number of people to pay in order to have the bus so that we can make the trip happen. So we're all looking forward to that. I didn't give you the dates. May 19th, Saturday, May 19th. And also, if you were here last month, for our speaker was our first centurion, Charles Libby, who drove the command car and a tank destroyer battalion. He's here again today with his author friend, Steve Hunter, and they brought along copies of the second book, which wasn't available last month, but they brought copies of that as well as the first book about Charles's exploits. And they'll be in the narthex, and you can go back there after the meeting and buy a copy and have them sign it for you. So we appreciate them coming down from Williamsport the second month in a row. So thank you very much. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Charlie Lloyd, who will tell you a little bit about upcoming speakers and introduce this evening's speakers. So Charlie, it's all yours.
Attention Kmart shoppers, where's John Bowers? John, we've had 14 announcements tonight. I told us I give you 2 minutes and we give you 31 seconds.
Any vets,
Here, oh wait, don't, yeah.
usually don't give it away. Any vets that are interested in coming up to the Gap, we'll treat you real good. There's a dinner and show you around. That any of the public that wants to come up, there's German Field Hospital, chaplains display. Saturday morning they're doing a memorial service on the 4 chaplains at 10 o'clock. So I'll be around. There's 2 other gentlemen if you want to catch us and we'll give you details. Thank you.
What about the dance?
Oh, well, the dinner dance I can try to squeeze a couple in yet Saturday night.
Didn't let you dance.
Good evening.
We're going to get getting ready to go right now. We have a couple people here, special people tonight that I didn't expect to see. We have Ben Bowers. Hi Ben, how are you? Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And my friend Hank Hine from West Shore. We're glad to see Hank here. Thanks to Bev for getting him here. We've started a program with Penn Live for Patriot News. They've started a program and invited us to join. For the next 6 months, they're going to be interviewing veterans and putting their veteran stories in the paper. Did we ask the veteran, where's Lee, Terry?
Yes.
Did we ask the veterans to stand?
Yes. I had to raise your hand.
Okay.
And the veterans, and the other veterans.
Okay. The reason I ask is they're going to do a series of articles on World War II veterans. Would the World War II veterans raise their hands so I know where everybody is, please? Wow. Thank you for your service. If you're interested in having your story told in a Penn Live, come and see me. I'll get in touch with a reporter. They'll come to your house, they'll write it up, and you'll be in the reviewer. How you like that? So they're going to do that. We've already talked to bus. We've got that. I think we're moving right along. We have a sister group in Minneapolis that does the same thing, round table. They're on a larger scale Well, actually, we're larger than them now. It's pretty much all historians and authors. They don't get the live vets. We're doing a heritage tour to Europe, 18 days in June and July, and then we're all the way out to Krakow, 3 or 4 concentration camps. It's a pretty spectacular tour. It's $4,500. If you have any interest in that, I have the information here, and you want to pass it out to everybody. And I think I've got everybody gone now. I have to look twice. Our speaker next month is going to be Dick Donald. He's a professor emeritus from Bloomsburg University. He actually was in the Navy and was a sonar man. You know, we had a sonar man last year called ping jockeys. And they go through, I'm not sure, is it the story, the escort? I'm not sure what ship they are on, it's smaller. D. Well, he's going to be here and share his stories with us. He actually was at the foot of Iwo when the flag went up. So he's going to have some good stories to tell. He's a professor, so he should be able to make a pretty impressive presentation. Now, too many notes. I don't want to forget anything. Speaking about impressive, we have an impressive speaker tonight. Second time here. First time you came, you talked a little bit about Pearl. And I said, well, you were also in Europe. You did a lot more than that. But can you just hold it to Pearl? Because this is Pearl night. And he says, well, I'll try, but I really want to tell the whole story. So I have the pleasure of introducing again Lieutenant Colonel William Bonnelli, and he's going to tell us about his experiences as a pilot in command of B-17s out of Foggia, Italy, and also please share some of your Pearl Harbor experience too, if you will. Good. I give you Lieutenant Colonel William Bonnelli.
Good evening. Good evening. Ladies, gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. I too am here to honor our veterans, especially those veterans who weren't as lucky as I have been, whatever. I would like to start with a little review of Pearl Harbor the last time I spoke to some of you. I have a couple of things I want to clear up. Oh, to clear up, by the way, before I forget, and I'm forgetful, this sheet of paper has a little error in here that I would like to clear up. It says Captain Bonnelli flew 30 missions over Italy. That should be over Europe and German-occupied territory out of Foggia, Italy. Thank you. Hawaii. There were quite a few of the sailors who really took quite a punishment December 7th. The more unfortunate, there were even some, you can say, who never knew we were at war, and here they died in war. That night, downtown Honolulu. The fleet was in, it was loaded with white uniforms crossing the streets back and forth, and the shore patrol was hauling some of the inebriated sailors back to their ship, put them in the brig, so to speak, place to sleep it off. And some they laid out on the deck. That morning, roughly around 8 o'clock, when the Japanese struck, they never knew what hit them. They never knew even that they were at war, and yet they lost their life. I shall never, never, ever forget that. It was gruesome. One of the boats rolled over, and several were still in the brig. And they tapped on the ship, hoping somebody would open up the bottom. But if they put a pinhole, they would have sank. I was told just down the road that that was going on. But I decided not to witness the tapping. I didn't want it stuck in my memory, as I have many other things. I would like to propose a little thought here. Yamamoto, head of the Japanese Armada fleet, whatever you want to call it, made two mistakes that day, December 7th. One for attacking, two for pulling out. I fully expected a street-to-street fight. I thought maybe he would unload some of his troops. But he didn't. He pulled every one of them out and skidded back towards Japan. To me, that was a military blunder. Had he unloaded a few shiploads of troops, they could have held the islands for quite some time. Things would have been a lot different. But I just thought I would mention something to think about. Just how long would the war have lasted? They would have had full control of the Japanese lake, speaking of the Pacific. They had control of several islands: Indonesia, Philippines, Guadalcanal, Okinawa. They could have even taken Midway. Things would have been quite different. Think about it. My service in Europe really starts at Hickam Field, Norway, believe it or not. I submitted my application for cadets, but I had reason to believe my commander didn't want to turn me loose. After all, I was a mechanic on the B-17 at the time. In 1942, the latter part, my squadron was now reassigned to Fiji Islands, down under, just on the other side of the international date line, where every tomorrow begins, high midnight. At the same time, it's high noon in London. 175 east longitude, just on the other side of the international date line again. And about 17 degrees south latitude. putting it another way, just shortly above New Zealand and about 700-800 miles due east of the northern part of Australia. The reason I'm bringing this up, I want to point out that I was very depressed. I had given up hope and accepted as a fact that I would never see the mainland again. And if it wasn't for some smart guy who put the red, white, and blue on the gable of this old beat-up hangar, which gave me strength, that's what I was fighting for. I want to point out, it hurts when I see somebody in the slightest giving little disrespect for the flag. The table turned. A Dutch boat by the name of Washfontein pulled into the large island WWI of the Fijian chain. And I later learned that our coast artillery, who was already established on the island, was processing applications for flying cadets. I got my papers in. Took some physical exams, and after I submitted my papers about 4 or 5 days later, I found myself on the way to WWI aboard the Dutch boat. And I got to tell you this, the first night out had nothing to do with the war, so to speak. First night out, thunderstorms, lightning all over the damn place. There were about 10 or 12 of us potential cadets on board this boat. Because of the rock and roll and what have you, they were getting seasick. I didn't. But I couldn't stand the odor, so I went up on deck, sat down on the first deck and where the railing went, and then wrapped my legs around the up and down bars, took off my belt and tied my legs together so I wouldn't get washed overboard. And what I want to tell you, I cursed the hell out of the thunderstorms and the lightning, and I said, you B-A-S, don't spoil it for me now. I have a chance. I have a chance. I have a chance to go to cadets. Over 5,000 nautical miles away, 20 days, we arrived Los Angeles. Went to Santa Ana. There are a few doctors and physicians and took a bunch of tests and what have you and so on. One flight surgeon said to me, says, you're flat-footed. And I said, well, what do you mean, doctor? And I curled up my foot. And I said, there you are. There's some space between the arch of my foot and the floor. All right. I got a little angry. The next day, another doctor said to me, did you ever have any broken bones? And I thought to myself, how the hell did he find out? Well, it must have been on all those questionnaires that I might have put something down. So I said, yes, when I was a kid in my early early teens, I fell out of a tree. From there, you can see the evidence. One doctor, the first doctor rather, tried to set my bones. He had an x-ray in his house, and he tried to set my bones without anesthesia. And you could hear me screaming a mile away. Well, wrapped it up, and after 2 or 3 weeks, the bone was sticking out right there, one of them. And my mom said, I don't like that. She took me into the hospital in town, Indiana, VA, and they x-rayed me. By the way, this doctor had an x-ray equipment back at his house, and it looked rather odd, something like Frankenstein's laboratory. But here at the hospital, they had the latest equipment, and sure enough, only one bone was set. So what they had to do was break the good bone all over again and reset the whole wrist again. After about 2 months, then I could do away with I just thought I'd mention it, the obstacles that I had to overcome. And the flight surgeon said to me, he said, suppose you were in a dive and you couldn't pull out. And I said, sir, I says, if I can change engines on a B-17 and a B-24 and work as a mechanic, I said, why in the hell can't I pull on a stick? And besides, I'm not going to get shot down. All right. From Santa Ana, I was sent to Thunderbird 1, just east of Phoenix, Arizona. Primary, steerable, 2-wing aircraft. I completed that. I was sent to Marana, Arizona, BT-13. Basic. Completed that. Then I was sent to San Marta, Texas, about 200 or 300 miles due east of El Paso. Completed that on February the 8th, 1944. There I gave up by the way, I went through cadets as a staff sergeant on flying pay. They had called me in about halfway through all the schools and said, who do I want to be, a cadet or a student? And I looked at them and thought they were nuts, and I said, what the hell's the difference? And the pay as a staff sergeant on flying pay was double compared to a cadet. Cadet only got $75 a month. So, and it was retroactive, by the way, and I got quite a bill. That reminds me, let me interrupt myself. On Pearl Harbor, I want to mention again that if you put my name, William P. Bonnelli, and then there's about 14 with the same name, and then my Pearl Harbor brief, you'll get a 4-page book, and it's worth reading. It's one person, my exposure to the Pearl Harbor situation. Where was I? Back to San Marta, Texas. I gotta tell you this. They asked me, what airplane do I want to fly? I put down number 1, B-17. Number 2, B-17. Number 3, you guessed it. The captain thought I was being a smart ass. He sent me in to see the major. I went to see the major. I said, let me explain. He said, that's what the hell you're here for. And I said, it's a puzzle to me as to, I've been a mechanic on a B-17. I didn't tell him about the B-24 because I didn't want the B-24. I said, I've been a mechanic on the B-17, changed engines on the B-17. Why can't I make use of my assets and learn to fly the B-17? I get you. I'll make damn sure you're on the right train to Hobbs, New Mexico. I was. I completed that. Then I was sent to Tampa, Florida. Plant Park, where the military was assembling crews and what have you, and a lot of other things they were doing. They gave me a crew, bombardier, navigator, co-pilot, and 6 gunners, one of which was an aerial engineer. And my bombardier, I noticed, outranked me. He was a first lieutenant, and I thought, what the hell are they doing to me? But then I noticed he had a very nice personality. He liked to talk. And I thought, well, I can make use of that. He can entertain the crew while I concentrate on 3 things: survival, survival, survival. Then I noticed or learned that he had been an instructor bombardier. Ooh, what an asset. I felt very lucky. He was an instructor at Deming, New Mexico, near the border. So he knew the northern bomb site quite well. He would be quite quick on it. Couldn't ask for a more knowledgeable person using the northern bomb site. So I really took that as a good omen even. It turned out to be. We completed combat crew training at Gulfport, Mississippi. And I began to assert myself more so than ever. One particular mission, I have to tell you this, I'm trying to be as factual as I can. The mission was to fly towards Chicago, east, and then back. Well, it was a squall line. Weather conditions didn't permit. Squall line all the way from Mississippi to Chicago, and I would have been in the squall line all the way. That didn't make sense. I refused. Took off, called back and said, I recommend you scrub the mission. Twice they did. And I expected to be called on the carpet the next day or the next day, but I never was. My tail gunner, about after almost 2 weeks, said there's a flatbed truck down this street here with pieces of the B-17 on it. You ought to take a look. I did. Clothing scattered throughout the pieces of this B-17, pieces of which were 8, 9, 10 feet in length, intestines scattered through the wreckage. Now I know why they never called me on the carpet. And I don't doubt we lost more than one. Although I think I would have made it because I was pretty good at flying instruments. But I mentioned it just to give you an idea of what took place. after Plant Park, Tampa, Florida, we were sent to South Carolina, Charleston, Hunterfield, I believe it was, given a brand new B-17, latest model that had the automatic guns in the nose. And from there I flew on my way to Italy, Rainier, New Hampshire, Gander, Newfoundland, and took off at night. Another wonder almost, took off at night because they were loading up at the airport to the Azores. The Azore Island was about 500-600 miles due east of Lisbon, Portugal. I almost bought the farm when I landed there. It was thunderstorms again all over the place. Matter of fact, I flew instruments across the Pacific and saw the Pacific Ocean only about an hour. Now I arrived there and make an instrument approach to get in. There was only one runway. I want to point this out. Thunderstorms all over the place. Excuse me. And on final heavy rain, crosswind, lined up with the runway. But to line up with the runway, I had to crab the aircraft at least 30-35 degrees. I'm coming down sideways. I'm looking through my side window. It's just like you driving down the road, looking out of your side window. I touched down, according to instructions, but I noticed that I was being pushed off the runway. The runway was wet. The runway was the iron matting. That's how you quickly establish your runway. And when these sheets of iron making your runway are wet, you're slippier than hell, and I almost got pushed off the runway, so I cranked it around and skidded down the runway sideways. The crosswind far exceeded the authorization for that airplane to land in that crosswind, but there was no other runway around. I had to, we either do or don't. But I managed to stay on the runway. Like I said, I thought I bought the farm. And after I stopped, parked the aircraft, I got out and checked the gear to see if I sprung it or bent it or whatever. It looked pretty good to me, so I don't mind telling you. I got down on my knees and I kissed the ground. Anyhow, from the Azores, my next leg was North Africa, Morocco, Marrakech. And then my next leg was Tunis, Libya. And then my last leg to Foggia, Italy. Across the Mediterranean, Malta, Sicily, the heel of Italy rather. And then another couple hundred miles, Foggia, Italy, at the spur of Italy, due east of Naples. The Germans were still a little bit further north, just on the north side of Rome. Still there. We were pretty close. And I was quite put out because when I got to Foggia, Italy, we were in the orderly room, shack, and I kept saying to the first soldier, "Where do we spend the night?" When we got there, it was raining, sleet, and the ground was muddy and wet and colder than hell. "Hey, Sarge, where do we spend the night?" I thought they'd have a processing building or something like that for newly arrivals. Oh, wait a minute, Lieutenant, wait a minute. Hey, Sarge, where do we spend the night? It's coming. What the hell are you talking about? 2.5-ton truck pulled up near the orderly room, dumped off a big bundle, and went about 100 feet and dropped off another big bundle. I was madder than hell. And he said, there you are, Lieutenant. There's where the officers stay, and there's where the airmen stay. It was a tent. We spent the night, up until about midnight, the officers' tent, of getting the middle pole and the four corners up. And our floor was pure mud. And it was a good thing I had told my engineer when they loaded me up with blankets at Marrakech to be shipped, taken to Fallujah, and some C rations, K rations, to keep some. In other words, I stole them. Just what it boiled down to, and I'm sure as hell glad I did. I gave 2 cases to the airmen and 2 bundles of blankets to the airmen, kept 1 each for the officers. And if I hadn't done that, I would have frozen my butt off in our tent. Yeah, it was a good thing I did that. Matter of fact, the food was terrible. The K rations were a hell of C rations. Well, a hell of a lot better than the food in the mess hall. You could open up a can and get a hunk of cheese out of there. Boy, that was good. But it didn't last too long because we ate our C rations before we ate at the mess hall. Okay. I thought I had to tell you that after all I experienced what we went through, and it took me a month to look around for flat stones so I could lay them out on the floor. How much time have I got? Huh? Whatever, thank you. Well, I was now flying missions, beginning to fly missions. The first 4 I flew as a co-pilot with my crew. The pilot who was checking me out, giving me instructions and what have you. First 4 missions. And, well, anyhow, so much of that. I'll come back to it. On my 5th mission now with my crew, and I'm the pilot, I was asked, around my 5th or 6th sortie, I was asked if I would fly squadron lead. And I thought, well, gee, I just got here. Why me? I said, finally, I said, yes, I'll take it. So 2 flights. The squadron lead pilot checked me out and said, okay, you're a squadron lead pilot now. To this day, I really don't know why I was asked. I can't come up with an answer. On my 2nd or 3rd sortie, I almost got shot out of the sky. I had Charlie Squadron, the 3rd Squadron. When you reach your target, you then regroup, rearrange your target, your squadrons in trail. Abel, Baker, Charlie, and Dog. 4 squadrons usually in a group. And having Charlie, boy, I'll tell you, yeah, I managed to bring the bird back home. Both my inboard engines were pretty well shot. I let them idle, carry their own weight. My landing gear, one of them wouldn't come down all the way. Cables all over the floor. Hunk came up through the floor, through my seat, almost through my parachute, in about an inch, if you don't mind. Within an inch of the family jewels. I don't mind telling you, I lied awake for about 4 or 5 nights. What in the hell am I going to do? I was going to give him back this squadron lead position so I could fly on a wing and loosen up a little bit. Get me some distance away from the Germans. They were accurate with those 88 millimeters. 88 millimeters. That's 25 millimeters to an inch. That's a little over 3-inch in diameter slug. And one of those explodes, it really breaks up a lot of hunks of iron that it either hits you or you hit it. One or the other. And they were accurate. Very accurate. Once they picked up the Able aircraft, then here I am mostly flying Charlie Squadron. The situation changed. Hey, I said to myself, it's pure suicide with what I know, with what I've seen. To continue, I'm in a process of going to give it back to them. What can I do? Well, finally, I said to my bombardier about the 3rd or 4th morning after, Andy, Fred Anderson, let's go for a walk. I got some questions. Of course, I already knew the answers to the question, but what I wanted to establish that our conversation would be confidential, just between the two of us. So I said, Andy, would you have any problem if I extend my base leg before turning on final track to the target? And immediately he said, it doesn't make any difference what direction I come in, as long as I can see the target, it's all right with me. I knew that. I get you. He saw through what I had in mind. In other words, putting it in a little more simpler terms, let's say if I were coming in, let's say the designated course was 030, the final track to the target, I would instead basically come in on 060, or even a more simpler way of putting it, I would be offset a little further. In other words, As an individual pilot, wingman, I could have done that with just one airplane of my own. But now I decided I could wind up, why in the hell can I not do it with the squadron? And I did. And I don't mind telling you. That's why I'm standing here behind this chair today. Thank God I had enough brains to figure that out. I returned, barely got back to, I forgot to mention, that I was given the Distinguished Flying Cross for bringing that bird home. And so did my bombardier. He was also awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for taking care of the wounded. I forgot to mention that. But anyhow, I must say, how do I know I can say by flying offset? It was the smartest thing I ever did. Again, I repeat, had I flew the designated track to the target, I wouldn't be here today. I want to emphasize that. And how many times do I know that? When I am flying the track to the target, I have a chance to take my eyes off my instruments. I flew mostly instruments. And look to my right or to my left where I was supposed to be. Pop, 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 pop. 8, 9 slugs. There's no way I could have survived that onslaught. I, with my own eyes, saw it 8 or 9 times, and I flew a total of 21 squadron leads, which was pretty high. Matter of fact, the first soldier in the orderly room, after the war was over, volunteered to make a list for me. And he said, I really didn't give a damn. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. But anyhow, he turned out to be right. I thanked him. Good thing, good grief. Dan had enough brains to thank the guy. It as sure has turned out to be that listing. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it in a frame. I don't have to explain it. It speaks 1,000 words on its own. That reminds me. Did I, let me deviate here a little bit. Did I mention this sheet of paper here with my? I would like to suggest where it says, where the hell? Oh, here it is. Captain Bonnelli flew 30 missions over Italy. Actually, it was over Europe and German-occupied territories. Out of Foggia, Italy. Okay, so much for that. Just make a little correction there. And by the way, I like that photo myself. I remember distinctly one of my crewmen wanted to take my picture with a B-17 in the background. And there was a load of bombs over there. And I said, hey, let's put the bombs in this picture too. So I walked over there and hugged a 500-pounder. And he got both the bombs and the B-17 in the background. That speaks 1,000 words. I don't have to try and qualify or justify or whatever you want to call it. Let me talk about another mission. This one, you might dislike me I have to tell you, I like to say I'm trying to be factual. One of my missions, all the way from Foggia, Italy, to Ruland, R-A-2-L-A-N-D, near the Polish border. Just east of Berlin, about 30 miles. I'll come all the way from, now remember, Foggia is the spur, up the Adriatic, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, then near the Polish border. Couple of buildings and a marshal yard, railroad. Took a little over 4 hours to get there, one way. We start lining up to the target. My bombardier. Bonnelli. The group lead is going in on the wrong target. What do you want me to do? And I said, put your crosshairs on. Interruption. My navigator interfered. He got on the intercom. Bonnelli don't. Now here I have only 15, 16, 17 seconds, not minutes, to get lined up. The bombardier and the navigator, the pilot have to communicate. Also with a radar operator. The three of us have to communicate. Now listen to this. I felt like two people hear what I'm going to say. I pulled my 45 out, charged the barrel, and tried to pull the instrument panel aside so I could remove an obstacle. And I even said to myself, I felt like two people, as I said, Bonnelli, what the hell are you doing? I don't want to shoot anybody. But here I am, one part of me is going through this, and I didn't even want to shoot a German. And here I am going through the motion. And I don't know if you ever find yourself in such a predicament. But I later learned that I would not have been able to fire because I laid the pistol down and tried to pull the panel away with two hands. But I would have never been able to fire because I later learned that my bombardier was in a struggle with the navigator trying to get that mic out of his hand so we could communicate and hit the target. As it turned out, here I'm in this left turn a little bit. Now I'm too far gone with all of this commotion. So I just left the squadron, my aircraft slowly turned to the left. The group lead is now turned to the right, gone. They didn't get the target. I could have gotten the target and gotten back in formation. But it was too late now. Here I am, way 4 hours into Germany, near the Polish border. Berlin, you know, is about a degree further north than London. About 60 nautical miles to a degree. And almost a good third of Germany is north of London. But here I am, and I want to point this out. In the process of turning, I could look towards Berlin. And what a battlefield I want to emphasize. All the way to Berlin, puffs of black smoke where the 88 millimeter exploded. At any given instance, I could see 6 or 7 aircraft going down in flames. So just like you take a match and strike it and you have that flash, fire flash, and throw it, and then the fire burns out, and then the black smoke. At any given instance, I could see 6, 7, very likely B-17s going down in flames. You can't see the airplane at that distance. You can't see the airmen bailing out if they did get out. If it was a direct hit, they didn't get out, I can tell you that. Well, I crippled back home that I wasn't hit. After I got home, I couldn't talk about it. I was too damned angry. And my immediate commander called me all kinds of names. Damn, wow, you son of a bitch. He really, of course he was mad. I would have been too. He was a nice guy. Oh, indeed. Yes, indeed, he was a nice guy. And I'm going to take the sortie away from you, too. I said, I thought I didn't have them all. About 2 or 3 days later, he finally got I couldn't talk about it, but 2 or 3 days later, he got the truth. Then he came to me and profusely apologized. Well, I kind of figured he would have. So that never bothered me. And I'm very, let me tell you, there are times when you ought to keep your mouth shut. Well, good thing I did. Because when I got there in 44 October, I was promoted to first lieutenant in December, and then 5 months later, I was promoted to a captain. So if I'd have said what I thought, I probably wouldn't have been promoted. So it pays to keep your mouth shut sometimes, you see, the way I see it. Yes, sir.
At this time, are you able to hear me?
Say again, please.
At this time during your missions, are you coming in with escorts or are you coming in alone? Did you have fighter escorts?
Oh, yes.
And did you
But not a hell of a lot. But yes, we had the 51s. The black outfit flew, gave us. Say it again, then?
Tuskegee.
Yes, I guess.
That was my question, if you had worked with them.
Yes,
Oh my God.
yes. But I didn't have too much except in the air. I didn't know where their squadron was. I never got a chance to visit it.
You never met them.
Yeah.
And again, another question quickly.
Excuse me, we'll just Q&A at the end.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. That's all right. I don't mind. I prefer the questions. In fact, I'm going to open it up for questions here. Let's see if I missed anything that I wanted to say. Flying offset, the Cold War. I'll get to that later. Third. Did I miss anything, Billy? Billy keeps me straight, my son-in-law. There was something I did want to mention. What the hell was it? Italy, Vienna,
Colonel, you realize we're in church. Say again, please. I said, you realize we're in church.
He said we're in church. He's trying to comment on your language.
I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
He was reminding you we're in church. So I think he wanted you to watch your language.
I apologize. Sorry about that.
Watch out for lightning bolts.
How about that? Okay. Let's see if I had missed anything. Oh, one mission I want to make mention of while I'm up here was a nighttime mission using a lead aircraft. Lead aircraft had radar where the ball turret was. The other aircraft did not have the other aircraft had ball turrets. My aircraft, lead aircraft, had radar equipment in place of the ball turret.
Put a circle in the darn though.
It's-
I'm sorry.
My squadron commander, immediate commander, had a special mission, and he knew I was pretty good on instruments, and it was nighttime mission, and there were weather conditions, thunderstorms over Vienna. The target was Vienna, Marshall Unit, and would you take it? And I said, all right, I'll take it. And I should have used my head a little more than what I did. So, took off in the evening and flew to Vienna, and here the radar operator, Mickey Man as we called him, would give me courses to the target. And my bombardier said, when you're over this particular, he had maps, and if you're over this particular area, let me know. He'll toggle the bombs away. And there was no way he could use the Norton bomb sight, because he can't see the target. So it was area bombing, which is just what it boiled down to. And, okay, we got lined up, dropped the bombs, but in the thunderstorms. I'm carrying 250-pound bombs in this instance. It doesn't make sense. On my way back, I want to mention that I thought of Pearl Harbor the night, Saturday night, where this black car was on the beach with the two big antennas, very likely communicating with the Japanese fleet. I thought of that. Why it occurred to me, after a couple of weeks, the only explanation I could give, I was in a retreating mode, just like I was in a retreating mode trying to get away from that car, because I didn't want to end up on the beach dead. Something told me back in Pearl Harbor that I better get away from that area. There's no doubt in my mind that particular car was in touch with the Japanese fleet that night. But anyhow, I just thought I'd mention it. But the next morning, I said to my immediate commander, what? Almost. Forgive me. I said, what did I accomplish last night? Here, 10 men and a B-17. I could have left my gunners home. Messerschmitts didn't fly at night. And especially in a thunderstorm, why did I torture them? I didn't need gunners. Didn't even need a navigator. I got a radar for the navigation. Just the bombardier, the pilot, and the Mickey man, the radar man, was enough. And he didn't answer me. And 10 minutes later, I pushed him a little bit, so to speak, in a verbal sense. And I said, what did I accomplish last night? Finally, he said, well, the wing commander wanted the Germans to know we could bomb any damn time we want. And I said, what do you mean? I said, his guts, my blood. See what you run into? Oh, I had another instance where on the Corona Bridge.
Colonel, we're going to have to get some questions and answers in, so I don't want you to lose that. So we have a few more minutes, whatever you
Is
say.
my time up?
No, we want you to answer questions. There'll be questions from the audience.
Who wants to have time to ask
Huh?
questions and answers?
Oh, okay. Let me just finish this one here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What was I talking about? Okay.
Colonel, I just saw lightning out there.
Okay, let's open up the questions. Okay, very good.
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Colonel Bonnelli, everybody. I think you may have enough stories for a third appearance here. That could be a precedent.
Probably good.
But as a tradition here, I know Kurt likes to present the speaker with a special memento, the official coffee mug of the Central Pennsylvania World War II Roundtable. But you got one in December, correct?
Yes, I did.
So we don't want to give you a second one, so we're going to give you something to go with your coffee mug.
Yes.
It's the official Central Pennsylvania World War II Roundtable coaster. So now you have a set. You have a complete set. And we will take some, do you have time for some questions and answers?
Yes, but wait a minute. I'm not finished. I've got to spend a few minutes here, please. I want to speak a little bit about the Cold War, which you're not aware of. Can I please have about 5 minutes? Can I have 5 minutes?
No, of course, you've got your audience in your hands here, so.
All right. I want to talk about the Cold War. This is peacetime, but it's a Cold War. 1956, 7, and 8. I transferred to England duty with an organization that had F-84F, Thunderstreak, Republic, made the aircraft in Long Island. And again, I repeat, this is the Cold War. I think Khrushchev was probably premier at the time with the Russians. My job was maintenance control officer. I'm not just a pilot, I've had many other jobs, and my job at this time was maintenance control officer over about 85 fighters, F-84F Thunderstreaks. It did not have any guns. It's called the fighter bomber. I'll try and make this brief. He carried an A-bomb, tactical, on the number 2 position of the wing, left wing, 230-gallon tank, A-bomb, tactical, under the right wing, a 420-gallon tank, almost as long as the fuselage of the fighter. and number 4 piled on another 230-gallon tank. I sent, well, I was in regular training back in the States. I sent myself to, I was in the headquarters, sent myself to Emerald, get checked out 2 weeks on maintenance of the aircraft, and Luke Air Force Base got checked out on the F-84 as a pilot. I'm now ready for my job in England. And being a pilot as well, it gave me quite a bit of latitude of my activities and what have you. I fully checked out. Now, what I want to talk to you about, point out to you, if you heard of General LeMay with his B-36s at that time and later B-52s flying around the clock with in-flight refueling to keep them airborne. Well, few people were, I better back up here, few people were aware that these fighter bombers in Europe, Holland, Eindhoven, Bochum, Soesterberg, Germany, Fürstenfeldbruck, Wiesbaden, Italy, Bologna, and several American squadrons, groups, mine in particular, 20th Fighter Bomber Wing, 55th Squadron. The fighter was used, the delivery is what I want to get across to you, of the A-bomb with this fighter bomber. Really a fighter. Let's say this is the target. And the best way I can describe it is the aircraft drives right up to the target as close as you can get, but before that, you drop all those tanks. Otherwise, you're not going to get an airspeed. The most I could get was about 525 knots with this bird. Drop your tanks. Now you only have about 35, 45 minutes of flight time with that bird to get back. Drop your tanks, reset your instruments. There was another G meter you had to use, and a wing level meter that you had to use, because you drive up to the target. Now you pull a 4G loop. Let's say here's the radius, here's the circle. You drive up as close as you can get. Now you're in a 4G loop. You're holding 4 Gs. Here's straight up. In another 20 degrees, the bomb releases automatically. So here's the aircraft and here's the bomb. They separate. Now I would be at about 7,000, 8,000. I would stand a chance to live. You can't dive bomb with it, because if they had dive bombed, the pilot would be burnt to ashes, as you all can see. This gave the pilot a little room. He was now about 7,000 feet above the target. This was the tactical. See, General LeMay had the bombers, but few people are aware of the tactical delivery of the A-bomb. Few people. Probably most of you tonight will have learned this for the first time. It's now unclassified. The Russians were well aware of it. They knew exactly where we were and what we were doing. Thank God Nikita Khrushchev wasn't as dumb as he looked. We were all been losers. I'll stop right there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. I have a quick announcement to make. 15th Air Force.
Yes.
Chuck Schmidt is back there. Again, you see everything standing? There's Chuck. Family member, my wife's uncle, his father. He flew out of phobia.
Okay.
Yes. And Chuck has a book there. I'd like to recommend it to people here to read about the 15th.
Yeah, it's called The Forgotten 15. By Barry Tillman. It's a great book. It's relatively short.
The Forgotten
15.
15. And that was your group. And he wants to meet you personally. And I think you'll be pushing bombs, but his father flew out of phobia with you. I didn't want to for that. Terry, that's it. Do we have questions and answers?
We have time for maybe one or two questions. We just ask to keep the questions brief, and also make sure the questions, if you want to share an anecdote with our speaker, please wait till after that. So we have time for maybe 2 questions or so.
I just wanted, I'm getting old.
All that, okay. Yeah, he's readjusting his Wi-Fi.
Charlie, why don't you stay up on the stage with them?
I don't want to get hit by lightning.
Too late.
Dan has a question right here.
Yes.
Hi, I understand that on a bombing run, you would fake the enemy out by having a course that was obviously going way beyond the target, and then at the last moment, you would get on your final approach path for dropping the bomb. Do you believe that the Germans were conducting espionage? You can't hear me?
Can you bring him up here, please?
He's very shy. He won't come up here. Get him what you do.
Okay, so my understanding is that when you were on a bombing run, you would fake the enemy out by having a course that looked like you were going beyond where the target actually was, but at the last moment you would change your course to get on the final approach. Were you conducting it that way?
Wait a minute, where are we?
We're in World War II. B-17.
Okay, all right, now we're together.
Yeah.
Now, question again.
So, were you conducting your bombing runs this way by changing your course just before you were near the target?
Okay, I got
it
it.
on your approach path?
Okay. Your question is this. Is how did I fly offset? How did I get there? Okay. What I will do, I have a map and showing the course to the target. They've reproduced it, and a pilot and a bombardier on each lead aircraft would have one of these maps. And I know where, and I'm communicating now with the radar operator. Okay. What I would do, to answer your question, is the designated course. So what I did, here when you turn onto the designated course, zero, in this case I used 030, I went this way a little further on base lane. Then I turned in. So here's the designated course, and so now I'm up here, I'm coming in like this. So the designated aircraft course, rather, going this way, and I'm up here, now I'm coming up like this. See, but
Germans aren't supposed to even know what target you're reaching or going for, let alone the approach cap. So were they committing espionage?
Start at the beginning, please.
Did the Germans know somehow?
Hell yes.
Exactly.
Hell yes.
Force would be your approach.
Hell yes.
But you still
Watch that language.
Okay. Let me see how I can give you a quick answer on that. Oh, to answer your question, did the Germans know? Yes, they did. Matter of fact, Berlin and Rosie told me where I was going. They were waiting for me. Does that answer your question?
So you did fly over the target, it was just to make the approach from a different angle.
One
From a
question.
different
all
course.
around. One question.
Here's, let's say this is straight north. Now I'm moved over here. Now I'm heading at about 020 or 025. And see, so the reason I'm behind a little bit too, see? So they're going in and I'm coming in like this.
Okay, thank you, Diane. You said I wouldn't get him off the stage. There he goes. Look at that. I want to make one last. This is a book. I think it's important you see it. It's The Forgotten 15th. Very, very interesting story. Chuck's father came back from the war. He started a little restaurant called the Kroger's Grill. It's just written up in the papers, equal to the Hershey Hotel. Chuck's no longer in the business. He has a bus that says Schmidt Kramer all over. You might recognize him. Little ad for the family there.
His first wife still lives on Ridgeway.
There you go. There's the book. We're gonna bring the questions down here, and you can come up and meet him and speak to him personally. How's that?
I didn't trip over